What are you doing?
It's a beer. What's the big deal here?
We got drunk at a party the other night. I think you might have liked it a little too much.
Yeah, well, beer is a big deal for us.
Oh, goody. Goody, now I get the lecture from the big brother who I've known all of 6 months.
You don't have a clue, do you?
About what?
About Dad.
Yeah, Dad used to drink and then he stopped. Next.
You know why he stopped drinking?
Because he ran out of money?
You know why my mom left him?
Because she went for a guy with more money?
She left him because he was an abusive, ugly drunk. Don't you ever talk about my Shawn! Shawn! Stop! He's my father too, man. Alcoholism is in our family, and you shouldn't drink.
Shawn?
After the other night, John, I feel like I can never drink again.
You were drinking?
Yeah. What do you figure that was about? I wonder.
You know what, Shawn? Shut up, okay? We agreed to stop drinking. I have. You obviously haven't.
What do you think that's about? I wonder.
And by the way, I happen to have been an adorable drunk. You should have seen me.
I did. You weren't, and this isn't about us.
Shawn, it's okay. Look, we can talk about anything. If there's a problem, we can figure out what to do.
Nobody's listening to me, okay? I drink this stuff because I like it. It makes me feel good. Hello? Hello? Is this thing on? I have no problem.
Corey, hi. I'm glad you came.
Why wouldn't I come? I was invited for dinner, so I'm here for dinner. Where's my dinner?
Corey's right. Why don't we eat?
Aren't you going to get that?
No, it's just the facts.
Oh, they gave you a fax.
Why didn't they give you a fax, Corey?
Well, at my level, they don't fax you. You just know. What's that ringing?
Nothing.
A cell phone.
The company gave it to him.
Good for you, Shawn.
Yeah, they also gave him a credit card.
Oh, a credit card, too.
Corey, the company gave Shawn a cell phone and a credit card. What'd they give you?
They gave me these.
Corey, they look like janitor's keys.
Yeah, they are. I'm a janitor, okay? It's all out in the open now. I hope you're happy. Thanks.
Corey, there's nothing wrong with being a janitor.
Corey, look. I didn't want any of this to happen, but it did, okay? I really want to enjoy it.
Shawn, no one's stopping you.
I can't enjoy this because of what it's doing to you.
Because it's killing me. Okay, all of my life, you're the one that messes up. I'm the one that cleans up after you. That's the way it's always been.
I know. For the first time, I'm doing something on my own, and it feels good. It feels really good.
Well, I mean, it's supposed to feel good. You did great. I guess for the first time, I'm just jealous of you.
Of me?
Corey, stop putting so much pressure on yourself. Everyone knows you're going to be fine.
I'm sorry I underestimated you. I'm real proud of you.
Yeah, I'm proud of you, too.
Hi beautiful ladies, welcome back to my channel. As you saw in the previous 2 clips from the popular show Boy Meets World, that was honestly one of my favorite sitcoms growing up. You saw Shawn kind of receive an intervention from his friends, his girlfriend, and his half-brother, where they were pretty much letting him know that he drinks too much and that he should be concerned about that because his drinking is turning into him becoming an alcoholic, which is impacting his quality of life, his ability to function, and ultimately his relationships. His half-brother was saying that, you know, they share a father and their father ruined both of their families. So the father ruined Shawn's family by not being there and by consuming most of his time with drinking. And his brother Jack was saying that their father also ruined his family with a different mother because for the same reason. He consumed all of his time with alcoholism, and then he became extremely violent towards his mother and himself. Throughout that entire show, Shawn is kind of known as the underachiever. He's known as the underdog because of his upbringing. Like, he was raised in a single parent household, I believe in a trailer park, just very unstable living conditions. And obviously that played a role in Shawn's development. He was more prone to getting himself into trouble. He wasn't doing as well in school. He had fractured relationships with authority. There are many times where he got in trouble. And sometimes his best friend Corey, who was raised in a two-parent household, he would kind of stand in and be that voice of reason to try to get Shawn on the straight and narrow. And Corey's parents, more so his father, would kind of step in and be like, hey, Shawn, like, get it together. And there was one episode where Shawn was like, I'm an orphan. I don't have any parents. Like, you're not my father. You can't tell me what to do. And so he had a very troubled, tumultuous childhood in a nutshell. Later on in life, both Shawn and Corey ended up getting work. Shawn got a really good job where he was given a pager, a cell phone, and a credit card, a company credit card. And then Corey kind of got a job as a janitor. So immediately from that transition from childhood to adulthood, there was sort of a turn in events or in destiny, where instead of Shawn continuing on the trajectory of kind of being the basket case and kind of struggling, Shawn hits that point in life where as he becomes a man, he gets a really good paying job, whereas Corey, who was once, he had life pretty much handed to him. He was raised in a very good family, he wanted for nothing. Now he's struggling. Now he's struggling as a janitor. Him and Topanga, after they got married, they were living in a really beat down apartment. They didn't even have clean running water. But Shawn and Angela are thriving on their own in their apartment. And again, Shawn is doing really well in his job. And so as you saw in the second clip, that really angered Corey. That upset Corey because his whole identity was being the top dog. His own identity was also affixed to Shawn being the underdog. Even though Corey looked like he was the winner, always winning in life, always having to step in and set Shawn straight, or kind of be the voice of reason for Shawn, or even a source of self-esteem for Shawn, being there to boost Shawn's self-esteem and let him know that, hey, like, you're worth it, you can make it, start making better decisions, I want to see better for you. And now that his friend has finally cleaned himself up, turned his life around, and is pretty much on Corey's level now, okay, he's responsible, he's working, he has a healthy, loving relationship, he has his own place, and he's actually, in fact, doing better than Shawn, because the apartment that Shawn and Angela live in is nicer than Corey and Topanga's, even though they were all once roommates. And Shawn and Angela's relationship at that time was stronger than Corey and Angela's, because at the beginning of their marriage, they had a lot of tension. And so I guess in Corey's mind, that is a shocker for him, because it's like, wait a minute, I've always been the top dog. I've always been the one to kind of set you on the straight and narrow. And now it seems as if the student has outmastered the teacher, so to speak. And now not only did you take my advice and you're doing well for yourself, you're actually doing better than me. And that's a double blow for Corey in Corey's mind, because it's like, how can this guy who came from a trailer park, was an alcoholic, had a fractured upbringing, single parent household, how can he be on my level, let alone now surpass me? Which honestly highlights the point that I always say. A lot of people, especially friends, family, people who are close to you and they've seen your past, they know your past, they know your dirt and where you came from, a lot of times they don't actually want you to do better in life. They'll want you to be confident until you actually become confident. They'll tell you that you need to love yourself until you actually start loving yourself. They'll tell you to put yourself first until you actually start putting yourself first. And a lot of times, when you are leveling up and you know that you're not at a good place in life, or you know that you're not at the place where you should be, and that you have a lot of work to do to become a better, more well-rounded person, you need to be careful of the words that people say to you. You need to be careful not to internalize and ingest those words, because a lot of times it's just lip service. Yes, you know, people will say, yo, I'm cheering you on and blah, blah, blah. But a lot of times you can see how that person really feels about you when you start doing better for yourself, especially when you start doing better in their mind, when you start doing better than them. When you stop being lazy, when you stop being a loser in their mind, when you stop being broke, when you start losing some weight, when you start learning how to improve your looks, and you start dating better quality men, it's like, oh, I didn't actually think that you were gonna do it. And so people telling you to do better and, you know, trying to coach you on and tell you that you deserve better in life, 9 times out of 10, they're not actually telling you that because they want to see you do better. They're doing it as a form of their own moral compass to signal to themselves and to you and to others around them that they're a good person. It's all for selfish gain. And I know this to be true because Corey's reaction to Shawn's success is not anything new. This is not a phenomenon. This is not a shocking, like, oh my gosh, Corey, how can you be like that? We all have encountered someone like this. And if you have not encountered someone like this, then you are that person. You are that person that probably goes around giving fake advice as if, you know, you actually really care. But then deep down inside, whether you want to admit it or not, if you were really honest with yourself, you would acknowledge that, yeah, my friend, my once broke friend doing better, it bothers me. Which is why I always warn you to be careful who you share your struggles with. Unless you know that they have the tools to help you to get to the next level in life or to solve that one issue in particular, they have a demonstrated track record of being able to help in that specific area. Say, for example, you're having issues with a difficult client in your business, and whoever you tell it to they themselves are a business owner. They've had years and years and years. Anyone who owns a business will know that you're going to deal with difficult customers. Then only would you share. But by you trauma dumping on people, sometimes for our own selfish gain and our own flawed human ego, a lot of people like to see other people struggle, and they are expecting you to continue to feed that ego by keeping them updated. So when they ask, oh, how are you doing? Sometimes they're not asking because they actually care. Sometimes they're asking because they want to make sure that you're still struggling. And you can see that to be true in that person's body language. Like, look at how when Shawn opened the door for Corey to come in, immediately Corey's attitude. It's like, this is your best friend, your childhood best friend that you grew up with, now into adulthood, and you're acting like that. You're not even trying your best to try to hide your disdain for your friend's success. And then, you know, shockingly enough, he was honest enough to be like, yeah, it makes me jealous. Some of you guys have some friends and family members where, you know, when you started your little business, as they called it, and they laughed at you, now they see that your little business is expanding and is becoming a household name in your community. Now they're looking at that and you can see them giving you a dirty look. Or before they used to be cheery and would say, oh, hello, so-and-so, nice to see you. And now they don't even have the energy to expend to be fake and greet you. They just kind of look at you with a stank face. They don't even talk to you as much anymore. They don't call you as much as they used to. That is their true reflection. That is their true feeling coming out. And if you listen to Robert Greene is the author of 48 Laws of Power. If you haven't read that book, I highly recommend that you do. He said that if you want to see how a person actually feels about you, just take a look at their face in the very first 5 seconds or first few seconds of them seeing you.
Micro-expressions, which is a sort of a fashionable word now. Paul Ekman kind of brought that out, where you look at people, they have a half of a second of a reaction, and then they put the mask back on.
Yeah.
Envious people will have that little slight for half a second. You will notice if you tell them some bad news about yourself, a little smile will appear on their face.
Yeah.
Or if you tell them some good news, a little bit of something unpleasant will cross the face for just a millisecond.
Yeah.
And Schopenhauer said, you can find these people out by deliberately telling them something good that's happened to you or something bad, and they will reveal themselves.
And this is especially true for a lot of Black exoticals who don't yet realize their worth and are insecure, okay? A lot of times you think that people are your friends, especially it's difficult to be able to measure that when you're not yet self-aware and it's happening with friends and family. You're gonna be a lot more trusting, which is why a lot of people end up falling into dangerous situations because they're so blinded by the facade of having a close relationship with loved ones that they think that, you know, the fact that my loved one tells me verbally that they're happy for me, like that's gospel. But once you start to elevate even more and do better for yourself, you're gonna start to notice that they just can't help themselves but be haters. Like they'll say things like, especially even if they're ahead, mind you, even if they're ahead of you in life, maybe, I don't know, you just graduated from university and you're starting this entry-level job in a contact center. That's all you could get. And you have a colleague or a friend who is a senior manager, right? They're obviously earning a lot more money than you. They have more seniority, more skin in the game. Sometimes you'll hear them say things like, oh, you need to be humble. Oh, you think you're all that. Or they'll even remind you of your past, constantly reminding you and almost like weaponizing dark moments in your past to try to make you feel as if you are unworthy, to try to instill imposter syndrome so that you feel like, okay, maybe I shouldn't show up as much as I have been. They're doing that to stunt your growth. And they do this because your insecurity served as a marker of success for themselves. Many people see your worth before you do, and they realize that you have untapped potential. And the moment that you decide to actually tap into it, they think that it's over for them, because instead of them developing their own self-esteem based upon their own accomplishments, on their own feeling of self-worth, they've established a very shaky sense of self-esteem upon whether or not other people do well. Which is why, like, some people, they immediately get super depressed when someone does well. Sometimes when you're in too close proximity with people that you grew up with, they want to be the only ones to say that they've become successful, especially if the both of you came from a low-income community. And God forbid, you know, they come from like a middle-class family like Corey, and you come from a low-income family like Shawn, and you seem to surpass them, without them realizing that sometimes in life, even though we apply the same method and we're exposed to the same opportunities, sometimes in life, it's almost like the stock market where different points in our lives are gonna rise and fall. It just is what it is, regardless of who you are. And a lot of times people in general, but especially those who are close to you and they know about your unpleasant past, they want to have some form of leverage over you. So they know your secrets, they know your failures, so that they can maintain their ego and the hierarchy that they've created in their minds of social class and things like that. Overall, keep leveling up and striving for greatness, but be prepared to lose people along the way. Honestly, Shawn and Corey at the end, they kind of lost touch when they all moved to New York City, because I believe Shawn wanted to travel the world, and then Corey kind of ended up opening up his own accounting firm. But the moment that, first of all, and this is another thing, you need to also learn how to be intuitive, because when you are intuitive, not only to your own emotions and needs, that involves emotional intelligence, you're also intuitive to other people's emotional patterns and behaviors. And that also stems from having healthy boundaries, establishing your own healthy boundaries and respecting other people's. But when you have intuition, you're able to clock people's energy. It doesn't require a certain level of spirituality. There's no special formula that you need to acquire this. You just need to learn how to be aware, and you need to learn to be honest with yourselves, because sometimes even there'll be people who will tell you, hey, that person is not actually your friend. That backhanded joke, I know that you said that you guys always make jokes like that and it's okay, but that joke was actually kind of out of pocket. That gave like real hater energy. A real friend would never say that to you. And some of you guys will laugh it off and dismiss and be like, no, that's my friend. You know, she doesn't mean no harm. Or no, that's my mama. That's my dad. Like, you know, I'm their daughter. They have my back. When in reality, they really don't. And if the tables were turned and you saw your friend or someone that you care for going through the same thing that you're going through, you would highlight to them and say, hey, that's actually not cool what that person did to you. That's actually pretty low down. You should probably distance yourself from that person. But because so many of us in the Black, especially as Black women, as human beings in general, our identities are entrenched in community, right? There goes that Maslow's hierarchy of needs again. We form our feeling of self and self-actualization based upon the communities that we have around us. And the same way how having a healthy community is pivotal for forming a good sense of self, is the same way that being around a toxic, volatile, unsupportive community can really tear down your self-esteem. And a lot of you guys don't realize that you have low self-esteem because you're currently entrenched in a toxic environment that will not allow you to see it, that will not even allow you to see your worth. So if you can't even see your worth, how can you know that you're in a toxic environment? But the only way that you can see that is when you are willing to listen and be privy to backhanded comments that people make and the body language that people have towards you. That'll tell you very, very quickly how that person feels about you. And so if I was Shawn and I saw Corey's behavior, I would have been like, nah, I don't like how you're moving. Like, we're not friends. I wouldn't wait for me to decide to move to be like, okay, now I'm going to start putting myself first. Your body language on a number of occasions is enough for me to be like, hey, you don't have my back. And if you're not able to see it enough, because, you know, sometimes people are going through things and you think like, oh, maybe my friend is just going through something. Well, he told him flat out, Corey told Shawn flat out that he's jealous of Shawn's success. And he said, you know, you've always kind of been the one to be the underachiever. That would have been shocking to me. Like, oh, wow, like I didn't know that you thought so poorly of me. I didn't know that you thought that I was so undeserving that only you should succeed in life because you've always succeeded, and I should kind of stay at the bottom because I've always been at the bottom. It's almost like a caste system where once you're born into a lower caste, you pretty much need to stay there. You're not deserving of moving up simply because you happen to be born in a lower caste. And those who are born in a higher caste, you deserve to stay at the top because you didn't do anything to earn this, but because you were born into this, you deserve to stay at the top, and you deserve to treat other people who may be more deserving or more talented than you. You deserve to treat them. It's your right to treat them like shit. So be prepared to lose people along the way. If you want to continue to level up, you need to be okay with losing people along the way. You need to be okay with cutting people off, even when they beg and plead and say, oh no, I didn't mean it that way. Yes, you did. Because if you never had ill intentions towards me, you would have never treated me poorly in the first place. Always remember that people's reaction to you is a reflection of how they feel about themselves, and it's not necessarily about you per se. So even though they are treating you poorly and making you feel as if you are unworthy, they themselves feel as if they are unworthy because they've formed their self-esteem on a very shaky foundation based upon whether or not other people around them do well, instead of them saying, you know what, as a human being, I'm inherently worthy and enough, and, you know, I'm only competing against myself. I know the skills that I have to bring to the table, so to speak, and I'm going to cultivate those skills and work on my weaknesses so that I can become a better person. There's room for all of us to win. People who have this mentality that other people's failure or success is a marker of who they are, those are the type of people who tend to stay purposely around people who are not as successful as them so that they can inflate their ego and feel and have an inflated sense of success. There's that saying that if you show me who your friends are, I'll tell you who you are. You are the sum of the people who you are around. So if you are around 5 losers, you're the 6th loser. If you're around 5 winners, you're the 6th winner. I know that this can hurt, especially if you've always kind of dealt with rejection, or you've only based your identity upon your community. You don't really have any other sense of self, or you haven't yet navigated forming healthy relationships outside of your family and friends. This can be really daunting. It can be hurtful, regardless of who you are, whether or not you do have a solid community. Take this as an opportunity. See their negative reactions towards you as proof that you have untapped potential, and really tap into that. Strive to explore this. This involves doing shadow work, being disciplined, really highlighting and bringing to the forefront those negative attributes that you used to hide so that you can get a better understanding of your strengths and weaknesses, what you need to work on so that you can become a better person. There are so many positive things to discover that outweigh the negative and often familiar experiences, but it takes you taking a step of courage and determination despite what people say to get to that next level. All right, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think about this one down below in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Memberships are now live on this channel. Click the link in the description box to sign up to receive access to exclusive content and perks.